by all accounts from what I can say, Catholic Dune, so sure, why not? Go check it out. Hello, welcome to Books and Booze. This is a series where I talk about books and I have some booze. I'm Alex. So for the first time in a bit, I'm going to do another book list video. This time I'm going to talk about some books that you might dig if you like Dune by Frank Herbert. I'd also extend that to if you like the Dune Chronicles, those first 6 books written by Frank Herbert and the entire Dune series. I've been on like a little bit of just like a journey of finding things that kind of fit into Dune. I love Dune. I love the recent film adaptations. I read the Dune Chronicles pretty quick just because I got pretty enthralled in Herbert's world and the ideas and what he was kind of trying to do. Especially in the first 4 up to God Emperor, which is probably my favorite of the series. But I'm going to go through 5 books here that I think have some thematic connections, sometimes some style connections to Dune. They're all pretty much sci-fi, with some kind of mixing other genres in the mix there. Also this time I'll be sipping on some of this Domaine, the Argentine. It's been on a Malbec kick lately, and this is a $5 Malbec from Trader Joe's that I've been digging. So here we are. Cheers to Dune by Frank Herbert and really all the writers that we're going to cover in this book list. Let's get into it. So to start with, one of the books that I really got into after Dune, based off a recommendation of if you like Dune, read this, is Children of Time by Adrian Chojkovsky. Hopefully I said that right. Children of Time takes place in a sort of far future where you join this team of scientists headed by someone named Dr. Kern, who are orbiting this terraformed planet, and they're going to kind of send down all these chimps, all these monkeys, with an antivirus they develop that will expedite and accelerate the evolutionary process on these monkeys. They're doing this because Earth is basically in shambles. They think this is the best hope to help humanity continue. They see no hope with the former human population on Earth, and this is the solution they came up through genetic engineering. However, some are not too keen on this idea, as you might guess, so there's kind of this radical movement against the scientists doing this, and from the get-go, you suddenly learn this mission has been sabotaged, and the entire ship gets destroyed, and that includes the monkeys, but the antivirus still lands on this terraformed planet, and there were some slight holes that these scientists didn't really consider, and that's that non-vertebrate animals and creatures could still be affected by the virus. Namely, that happens to spiders. You also join up another group later who is another kind of one of those big colony ships trying to find somewhere to live after they escaped kind of this fallout from everything in Earth. And that's really all I want to say. Spiders get weird evolutionary stuff. There's some other people floating around that may or may not encounter said spiders. So like Herbert, this book is all about the ideas and everything underpinning it. The world building is very impressive. I think there were like zoologists and biologists that were kind of like part of a committee to give feedback over how the creatures on the planet evolve over time. And I can't spoil too much what goes into that world building because it's a central part of what makes this book so exciting to read. Similar themes do occur to Dune, namely that of power and corruption. Religion plays somewhat a part, especially with how it is utilized in Dune, but not too many spoilers there either. There's also an exploration of the limits of technology and human intervention with that technology. It's a classic tale of playing God in the same way that Herbert kind of is concerned of messianic figures and people playing God in that way. But I think it's done in a really new and exciting manner. So Children of Time is a big recommend on my part for Dune fans. I recommend this instantly to every Dune fan I encounter. Next, something that always piqued my interest as it was first presented to me as Catholic Dune is Shadow and Claw by Gene Wolfe. I'm going to do my best to kind of summarize what this book is about because it's wild. It's something else. So you follow a character named Servian, and he is a part of this guild, this class known as the Torturers. And they do exactly what you think they do. They kind of torture and enact law. They are the executive branch of this very strange world called Earth, spelled Urth, the Commonwealth of Earth. However, Servian gets pretty close to this new client they have that they're eventually going to have to torture. And he commits the cardinal sin that no torturer should ever do. He shows a victim mercy. Because of this, he is exiled from the torturers, and then he roams this colossal, decaying city. He meets this basically giant and his traveling companion, who all do like this weird play performance, and he just gets into all kinds of weird stuff. He at some point goes on this like wacky adventure to get like a flower that's going to be used in a duel. I mean, it's very strange world that you have going on here. And that's just me explaining the first half of this, because technically Shadow and Claw is 2 books, and I'm describing the Shadow of the Torturer. So as you might guess from my struggles to summarize what exactly this book is about, other than this torturer being exiled for showing mercy, the world building here is insane. It's one of the most alien things I've encountered, yet it's pretty easy to grasp when you think about it as like a very strange medieval feudal space opera thing, very similar to Dune in that way. I believe Wolfe was a medieval scholar of some sort, and it really shows in the language and culture that he's built into this novel. If you're into like some of the more surreal and the general weirdness of Dune, such as the spiritual and religious themes, I think you're really going to dig this. There is sort of a deconstruction as well of the hero figure. Servian is a pretty complicated character. He's not an anti-hero. I don't know if we can call him a hero. That might change in the other 2 books of the series that I have yet to read, but I eventually want to. But yeah, I mean, by all accounts from what I can say, Catholic Dune, so sure, why not? Go check it out. Shadow and Claw by Gene Wolfe. The next one I want to discuss, I don't have a physical copy of because I've been going through the audiobook of it, but that is Wool by Hugh Howey. Wool is also set in this sort of near future, far future scenario where the air, for some reason outside on Earth, has become toxic and it's completely inhabitable. And humanity has been placed into these large underground silos. It is a 144 floor underground community of humans, and this is like hundreds of years after this unknown event that made the ground above so toxic. You mainly follow Jules, who works in the lower levels as a mechanic on the silo's generator, as she sort of gets tossed into this grand conspiracy around how the silo is truly run and operated. And of course that comes from the powers that be in the higher levels of the silo. People are being sent out to clean, which is when they get this one suit to go out and clean a camera that shows a live stream of the outside world to the people within the silo. It's a form of execution because you shortly die after you do it. And people are being out to clean in a very quick succession, and things just aren't right as Jules gets tasked with becoming the new sheriff of the silo, seemingly out of nowhere to a certain degree. You get to learn about these clues as you read through the novel. So if you are drawn to the themes of power and corruption in Dune, you'll really dig this. That's the primary themes that occur in Wool. What Dune does for a kind of vague feudal political system, Wool does for democracy and oligarchy. Again here, Howey's world building is just totally awesome. You just sort of dropped into the world in the same sense that you are with Dune. And it gives you interesting little tidbits about the history of the silo and how people relate to it. But only here and there. You have to use a lot of context clues to really kind of draw your own conclusions about what certain things mean in the novel. And what I will actually say that makes this stick out from Dune in one way too is that I think Howey is really good at building realistic human characters, as opposed to Herbert was more interested in using like archetypes to propel his story forward. And that also leads to, I think, a very solid depiction of classism and class struggle in like a very believable sense. I know that's sort of forced in a lot of our popular storytelling right now, but Wool does a really good job making that seem very organic and how it actually happens in real life. So I think like it's not forced in the same way as something like Snowpiercer. And I like Snowpiercer, but this is like better Snowpiercer. Moving on to my fourth pick, we're actually going to talk about what is typically considered a modern classic here. That's Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. So hear me out. I know this is a little bit maybe of a stretch for Dune fans to some degree on a surface level, but this novel examines a futuristic society called the World State that revolves around science and efficiency. In this society, emotions and individuality are basically like conditioned out of children at a young age, and your careers and your life and everything's just like predetermined in a way. Hedonism and pleasure seeking are the biggest thing someone can engage with in this world, and it's especially done through this soothing, happiness producing drug called soma. You follow someone in the alpha class of the world state named Bernard as he starts to have holes poked in his worldview, and that just kind of starts to get him into all kinds of trouble. So, like I said, this one may seem like a stretch to recommend to Dune fans from a surface level outlook, but I think there's plenty of thematic connections between Dune and Brave New World. For one, Herbert was really big into psychedelics, and Huxley certainly was too. He's often considered kind of a pioneer of psychedelic philosophy. Dune is very concerned with ways that people are controlled, and that is the central theme of Brave New World, albeit Huxley thinks people are more controlled in a slightly different way than the aggressive force that Dune sees with a political, military kind of will to power control. And Huxley is often kind of seen as like a prophet of doom for our current day, where he really thinks entertainment, distraction, pleasure, and just this void of a culture controls everyone. This novel, I think, also focuses more on archetypes than very realistic human characters, so please keep that in mind if you decide to go read it. But yeah, I mean, absolutely recommend Brave New World to fans of Dune, and I wouldn't be surprised if Herbert was influenced by Huxley in some way. I haven't confirmed that, but it certainly seems like it could be the case. And lastly, my final recommendation for Dune fans is again something slightly a little bit different, but I really recommend Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson. Aurora is a 2015 novel by KSR, as he's known in the sci-fi nerd world. It follows this generation ship as they're going to colonize a new planet. And it's also kind of interesting because the narrating voice is through the ship's artificial intelligence. And you actually mainly follow this teenager, Freya, as she travels around the ship on this kind of spiritual, walkabout. Really just like a preliminary, like you're becoming adult walkabout. It's baked into the culture of the ship. And she slowly learns that many of the ship's inhabitants are dissatisfied with their enclosed existence, and that they perceive that they're underneath a dictatorship, though it doesn't seem like that on the surface. Very similar to Wool in that way. The movement is like pretty limited for most people. Freya's kind of this exception because of where she comes from. And reproduction is tightly controlled. And education in science and mathematics is mandatory. Anything else, you're kind of lucky if you're able to learn about anything else. So why do I recommend this for fans of Dune? Well, Dune, in a sense, I think you could argue is a coming-of-age story about a teenager thrust into a predetermined life with a lot of weight on him. And Aurora explores a very similar narrative, at least partly. There are, of course, themes of control and corruption. They're super big here, but an encounter with intelligent life on that colonizing planet, without spoiling too much, kind of shakes things up a little bit. And I really like that the perspective from the AI shares some of the cold, calculating interior monologues that you experience throughout Dune, so there's kind of a stylistic connection there for you too. It really yields an interesting exploration of power and its limits, as well as ethical questions around the use of technology and human expansion, colonization, and really like culture creation in general. So I think you'll really dig Aurora if you dig Dune. There you have it. I think that's 5 books that if you're a Dune nerd, you'll probably nerd out over these books like I have. Of course, I guarantee you all have some kind of answer to, if you like Dune, go check out this book. Please let me know in the comments. I'm always trying to find something Dune-ish to read, and I'm sure other viewers of this video would really appreciate that as well. So let me know in the comments below what other books you recommend. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, please let me know that as well. Anything helps out the channel, and it also just helps get this video in front of other people that would probably dig it too. If you like book lists, if you like long form book reviews, if you like video essays, check out what else I got on the channel, and also consider subscribing. That's one of the biggest ways that you can support what I'm doing here. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in our next exploration.